¡Órale!
Sí, señor.
Ah! Ho, ho, ho.
Feliz, feliz, feliz Navidad y próspero año nuevo. But right now, let's Feliz Navidad. ¿Cómo estamos, primos?
Good, man.
Yeah.
Rocking and
How about
rolling.
we issue a
Fantasy
Merry
playoff
Christmas?
time. Let's go.
Yes, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Y próspero año y felicidad.
Mm-hmm.
Primos, it's not just time to celebrate Christmas. It's celebrating those playoffs.
Yeah.
Or as I like to call it, COVID Hollywood Squares. Yes. Who are we going to pick today, huh?
Seriously, who's out today? Exactly. Yeah. It's like Survivor.
It really is. It really is. I mean, you know, we've got on one side, Hector, you're in the semifinals.
Yep.
You versus Jose, and you probably did some brujerias, and half his team is on COVID.
I don't. Yeah, I have a chunk of his team's on COVID. Funny, like Madison on my team just got off COVID, and now he's going to be the starter. He's projected for like 15 points.
Yes.
I don't know. That was just dumb luck. I also have the Saints. I mean, the Miami Dolphins defense. The top two starters for the Saints quarterbacks are both out on COVID. So now Ian Book, I think is his name. He's going to start.
I think it's Bobby Boucher. He's the water boy. He's going to be playing.
Something like that. I mean, so I'm firing up Miami defense against. I hope he lights a candle. I can only say, best of luck, Ian Book, because my Miami defense is going to not be very nice to you on that day, man. So I think I'm looking for my Miami D to score a bunch of points and help me in my trek to get a
quest for the trophy.
A quest, right. Yes.
Yeah, well, you guys, you're in the playoffs, and I'm still salty.
Playoffs,
because I'm as Vince Scully would say, I'm outside the candy store.
Looking in.
Yeah. By 0.34 points, right, George?
Oh.
It's still.
I read about that on ESPN front cover. I think that George.
Yeah, that was the
less than half a point.
The not top 10, missing out on fantasy football playoffs by 0.34.
Wow. And it was. You know who I blame? You want to know who I blame? Este, who congratulated me on Sunday night.
Yeah. That was you can never. The fantasy gods, they don't play nice with early congratulations, man.
Yeah, I think I said, Georgie, aren't you going for a perfect game, or aren't you going for the cycle? Or wait, I threw everything out there. I tried everything, but sorry about that.
You just didn't want to have carne asada at my mom's house next year.
Yeah, man.
Just didn't want the carne asada. But no, it's we got that one. We got that one on the other side. We got Mikey. He's already off to a big start against Primo Manuel. Because he had Deebo Samuel, and Primos. Let's talk about that Thursday night football. Well, first off, Nico, you kicked some butt on your bet.
Yes, I placed a bet against my friend, and he said okay, and I took the Niners in the first half. They love to do. They're great in the first half, but they don't finish well. It's like one of those teams, good first half, like KC is good in the second half, Green Bay is good in the second half. And the Tampa Bay is good in the second half, but there's certain teams that just are not good. They're only good in the first half, and the Niners are one of those teams. So, that's they're good to bet on, and I'm glad I did. And so we'll see what happens.
You want a couple bucks there from your friend?
From my friend, yes. His name is also Nicolas Vegas, so but
that's so weird.
That is weird, isn't it?
Well, I tell you, it was quite the game. We had, for the first half, as you said, the 49ers had control of the game. They looked pretty good, but really it was the second half that this game really was won, and it almost became like a game of one-on-one, a basketball game of one-on-one between Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown. Deebo, 191 total yards. He had caught 9 of 11 targets. And, a lot of people had been having a little trepidation about how he's been getting used of late. So he's, kind of people have been a little bit worried, but he had a big game. But on the other side, AJ Brown, 11 catches, 16 targets. I'm pretty sure that's a career high. I didn't get a chance to look that up.
It's gotta be. That's a lot of targets.
Yeah,
man. Holy
145
smokes.
yards and a touchdown. Just a dominant performance in his first game back from injury. Familia, if you got him back in your lineup right off the bat, I hope you benefited. Right?
I hope no one left him on the bench. Like, oh, he can't be full power. He's probably still injured. I'm gonna sit him down this week. He's probably still hurt a little bit.
Dude, I'm in 13th place in the 12-man league. That's how bad I'm doing.
Oh. Okay, hey Primos. Before we get, we're gonna get into. We got a question, but no, just to finish off the game. I mean, this was clearly a night that the running backs were not going to run. Yeah, right. They were not going to have a lot of room to run. Both defenses
Dante Foreman
really tough.
Yeah.
Nobody ran for more than nobody even hit 50 yards among all the.
I mean, Tannehill, the biggest run of the night for both teams, or the most significant run, was Tannehill's run there. That scramble at the end of the game when he ran and he got them into field goal range, and that's pretty much the reason that they were able to win that game. That was a really nice scramble by him. He used his legs pretty well.
But it was good. I mean, and Randy Bullock kicked a field goal with and it crossed it just barely
squeaked it in. He squeaked it in there.
And got it for 45 yards. So, hey, Primos, before we get into the games, because we're gonna work Cheesemate into each one of the games because there's so much COVID happening, so many guys are out that we're just gonna talk about the games a little by little, starting with the Christmas games and going through Sunday Night Football. We're gonna jump through, but first we have a pregunta from Smokey the Cat. Guys, if Eckler is out, would we play Justin Jackson? Or play Rojo, Ronald Jones, or the other option is Josh Jacobs.
I'm playing Justin Jackson. I mean, this is a beautiful lineup. The Chargers are playing. Who are they playing? George, is it the Texans, right? Houston Texans.
Yeah, they're playing the Texans.
Justin Jackson is going to be a nice fill-in for Eckler. They're still going to use him. I mean, if you've seen Justin Jackson run, the guy, he's a strong runner. He's a tough runner. He's going to get those tough yards even more so than what Eckler does. But they're also going to fit him into the offense really well. And it's funny. I'll add Smokey the Cat. I'll add a little bit of extra cheese on top. Austin Eckler was on a show. He does a show with Liz Loza on Yahoo, and he himself said to pick up Justin Jackson. So for what it's worth, Austin Eckler said it. So I would listen to Austin Eckler, the man. He himself said, "I'm going out, pick up Justin Jackson." So there you go.
Are those shows from the 60s? I don't recognize any of those shows. The Cat, wasn't it? Is that Felix the Cat?
It's on after Get Smart, Primo. It would be close with me, but to me, Justin Jackson does get some work in some PPR work out of the
passing game. Yeah, exactly. That was exactly right.
Especially for PPR, it's a little bit. Josh Jacobs is I tell you, Smokey the Cat, you got good options.
I think he's going to do well. It's like Montgomery with Chicago. These guys at the end of the season, they're going to come out and all of a sudden they want their yards.
Who's he playing? Who's he playing? Jacobs.
Denver.
It's
in Vegas. It's in Vegas. Yeah,
Denver,
they're good, and
you're not running Jacobs against Denver's defense. No way.
That's good options, though.
Not when you have Jackson available. I'm going to Jackson.
It's good options.
The Chargers have a beautiful matchup against the Texans. Yeah, they can be tough at times, but they're on a roll. I mean, these last couple games, the Chargers have just been dominant, and they're going to use Justin Jackson effectively and efficiently. And it's going to be a seamless, it's kind of like Madison going in for Dalvin Cook. Jackson's going to get his points. That's the way I look at it.
I could see it. And the Broncos number 9 against the running back. So since week 11. So, it's not a bad matchups all around, because even Ronald Jones, Rojo, he's going to get the bulk. He's going to get all of the rushing attempts. He's not going to get a lot of work out of the passing game, but it's going to be all the rushing attempts.
But I think was it Antonio Brown is back. Gronk's in there. I think Brady being shut out. If anyone knows anything about Tom Brady, is the guy is just a super hyper competitor. So the idea of him being shut out last game is a very strong sticking point for Tom Brady. And if anything, he's going to come out guns blazing next game. Throw. He'll probably throw for 400 yards and like 4 touchdowns. Ronald Jones not going to get much run in. It's all going to be about Brady, and he's going to want to throw it all day just to prove to people, as competitive as he is, that game was a fluke. So I'm looking at that definitely as kind of a knee-jerk reaction. That they're going to lay off the run game a little bit.
Well, so here's the thing. One thing, Primo, real quick, because Smokey the Cat added that his other options on the bench are Sony Michel, Tony Pollard, and Alexander Madison. So.
Whoa, Madison's the number 1 overall.
I want Madison.
Of all those guys,
I want Madison in the lineup
overall. Yeah. Madison's not even a question. Madison is your starter for sure. That's not even an option to leave him on the bench.
He's good for 15 points at least. So.
Easy.
He's gonna. Yeah. I tell you. It's got to be Madison. I mean, hopefully you can sneak some of these guys into your flex spot, unless all you got is Cooper Kupp and Deebo Samuel, in which case I'm not worried about your team. But yeah, Smokey the Cat, probably
he has some really good options there.
Options. Yeah, exactly. I want his team.
Seriously.
It would probably be Madison.
Dallas. But overall, Madison's got to be your, if you're in the pecking order, Madison's top.
Yeah, what is that, a 6-man league? Look at all these options.
I'd say, Madison, then Justin Jackson, then I think Ronald Jones, and then Josh Jacobs. If Josh Jacobs didn't have such a tough matchup, but Jacobs is getting some play in the passing game. Even Pollard has a pretty good. Sony Michel would be the last one because I think he's going to be. It looks like he's going to be sharing some carries with Darrell Henderson,
right.
But Pollard will also share. But it looks like he's going to get a little more passing game work, and so it's going to be a little more valuable that way. So,
I see Ronald Jones get a lot of passes because the thing about Tom Brady, he's very competitive. He's a coach player, so if his wide receivers are out and he's not hitting his passing game, he's going to have to either run it.
Well, he's still got a couple guys in there. I mean, he still has. He's still got Gronk. He's still got Antonio Brown's going to be available. So I see. Yeah. I see Brady. We know Brady, and he's going to throw. He's going to want to throw for a monster number. So I think that will impact their running game.
It's a story of a man named Brady. I'm telling you. That's from the Brady Bunch.
Let's see.
You guys need to get that.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, great question.
Look at this one. His wide receiver 1 is Deontay. His bench is Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Antonio Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, Nico was talking about Tom Brady. I mean, definitely Deontay.
You're firing up Antonio Brown for sure.
Yeah, I think you're firing up Antonio Brown.
Godwin's out. Mike Evans is most likely out, or if not, he'll just be a decoy because he was DNP for 2 days in a row. That's a horrible sign for anybody. And by the way, his designation is week to week, not day to day. That's bad for Mike Evans. So when you're not day to day and you're week to week, chances are Mike Evans will not suit up. Even if he does, he's not going to do much. And so that's
a pretty good bench for being 12 team PPR. Like, wow,
that's a damn good bench.
I don't know how to draft. These guys have these great teams. I'm like, Jesus.
I do. Smio. This guy's
really
good job, Smokey the Cat. All right, well, let's get into some games. Primos, let's get into some games. I'm gonna ask like a little question for each of the players, because there's gonna be some games where it's obvious who's gonna be in, who's adentro, who's afuera. So we're gonna start with Christmas Day. Feliz Navidad.
Dun, 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 dun.
You know what? I think the NFL. First of all, the NFL needs to come out with like ugly sweater uniforms. You know how the NBA did that with the socks a couple of years back? Dude, imagine the NFL. These guys with like ugly socks. Please, NFL. Roger Goodell, if you're listening, it's on my wish list. All right, go ahead, George. Sorry.
I think Oregon's already doing that, but that's opinion.
Dude, that'd be so sick. Imagine all the uniforms they would sell. Oh my God, game over. All right.
They would do well. Well. So we got the Browns at Packers. It's a 7.5 point over under. Oh, Nico, we're getting a little feedback again.
Okay.
So we're okay, on the Browns side, you're starting Nick Chubb. So, and if you really need a wide receiver, I mean, well, you're not starting a quarterback, and it looks like Baker Mayfield's coming back, but he's the bionic man right now. But it's like Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones. How deep do you have to be to have those guys starting? Heck.
Gosh, I don't even think I'm starting either of those guys. I mean, we're in the playoffs now, so you know a lot of guys are going to be out. But Landry, I mean, in this game, I like Devontae. I like Aaron Rodgers. I mean, MVS is on COVID. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones.
That's
is starting.
tough. He actually helped me win a game the other day. I mean, with his 20
know.
points.
I mean, I don't know. The Packer defense is pretty tough, man. I don't know. Jarvis Landry. I mean, I guess it's dependent on what your other options are. You know, at wide receiver. But I mean, I'm looking at for sure for me, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones. I don't know, and Nick Chubb. Those are my guys. It is like the musts for this game.
Yeah, I'm looking at AJ Dillon too, just because I think he's going to get some work.
He vultures a couple. He does a goal line work. He's just a monster. He's like, he's like a Derrick Henry body type, just like a beast.
And if there's no MVS, Alan Lazard is going to be a very tempting play because they both get like somewhere between 5 and 10 targets independent of each other.
Right.
When they're both in the lineup together. So I just look for the fact that maybe Lazard gets a few extra.
Possible.
He is in that circle of trust. He is. Yeah. He does trust him. So, man. Let's go to the Colts at Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
And JT, Jonathan Taylor, Nico. You're starting him, but it's the Cardinals have given up some yardage lately. Gotten dinged up with the Rams and definitely with the Detroit Lions last week. But how. I have this dilemma. I may have to start Carson Wentz because I was going to start Taysom Hill in the league, and it looks like Carson Wentz is my guy. He had that run where he threw 2 touchdowns in every game, but I'm worried about the game script a little bit in this game.
Yeah, I think the Colts have gotten to a point right now where Carson Wentz is like a secondary player on their offense. Everything runs through Jonathan Taylor. When they need some plays, they need some yards, then they'll stretch the field with Carson Wentz and Pittman. But he's definitely not. And as far as fantasy goes, Carson Wentz is not really viable unless, to your point, it's like an emergency. It's like you have no other option. Otherwise, Carson Wentz is not, for me, is not really startable because they run the offense. It's a running team. And Carson Wentz is, everywhere you turn, Carson Wentz is like, we don't want to use him unless we have to. He's like, the emergency acts, you break the glass and you pull out Carson Wentz, only when you absolutely have to, so they don't use him very often, very much. He's not putting up big numbers. He's not throwing for TDs much. So, but again, Cardinals defense, I don't even know what to make of what has happened to them these last couple of weeks. They look terrible. And against the Detroit Lions, I mean, Kyler Murray was like, "Oh, we didn't prepare." I don't buy it. I mean, this is the NFL. You prepare for every team every week. There's the Kingsbury. He's going to prepare for every game. These guys, that's what they do. They're analytics. They prepare big time. So for the Cardinals to stink it up these last 2 weeks, I don't know. I mean, you may have a chance with Carson Wentz doing something because the Cardinals defense is, I don't know. They look terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you said, these guys are pros, which is the term for professionals. That means these guys are supposed to be, and it's not like there's accounting firms all over the place. There's only a few NFL teams, so you got to be the best of the best. And, I got to tell you, the Cardinals, they're more of a mojo team, and they went off rhythm. I think they won all these games because they were in sequence together, and they were going, and they had this harmony. They broke that harmony, and they're not winning, and it's freaking them out, and they're losing. Just like anything else, if they can't do it. And Wentz, sure, he's not doing well, but if you have an automatic running back that's going to go, how good can you be as a quarterback if you I need a first down here, you give it to your running back, whatever. And for them not to use him because you know what, he is a good quarterback. I mean, I think people forget that. And
they do, but they limit him. They limit him purposely just to make sure that he doesn't make a mistake. Because I think there's a number out there. I don't know if you have it somewhere there, George. Like when Carson Wentz throws more than X number of times in a game,
it's more
like
than 30 times.
Yeah, something like that. Then the Colts lose because he'll usually end up throwing like 2 or 3 picks a game, and maybe a pick 6 is mixed in there. Something. So they purposely limit Carson Wentz's activity, in the passing game because of that. There's like this magic number that you need to keep Carson Wentz passing under X number of passes because anything above that, like the guy just falls apart or whatever.
Well, this is a big game. I mean, I usually can't drive more than 2 hours, but if we're going to Vegas, I can drive for 3.5 hours. I can do this. So
right. No.
I think Wentz is going to shine in this game. That's my 2 cents. So
all right.
I think what will happen is Jonathan Taylor will get his, but I think the Cardinals are due for an explosion right now. It's a home game. It's gonna be electric crowd. It's gonna be Christmas Day. I'm looking for this game to just really. Right. I mean, they're gonna put some points on they're gonna have to put some points on the board because Jonathan Taylor is going to bring plenty, and I do think they're going to need Carson Wentz. It's not just going to be the Jonathan Taylor show.
I agree, and they use him, but they use him but sparingly.
I will say
use him sparingly.
Speaking of sparingly, you got James Conner and Chase Edmonds. They kind of split the duties after it looked like Conner was really the lead caballo there for a while. So, I mean, that one gives a lot of pause. I mean, if you've got to start either or both of them, you kind of do it holding your nose. The one guy you're not holding your nose for is Christian Kirk. He had 12 targets last week, caught 9 of them for 94 yards and a touchdown. This is the guy, Jess Root of CardsWire. He had told me that he thought the guys that were going to benefit the most from DeAndre Hopkins being out were going to be Kirk and AJ Green. So I think we're seeing it right now. We are seeing it right now.
Kirk's the man. Yep.
He went to AJ Green early. It seemed like right after the next game, it was all AJ Green and then Kirk. But Kirk comes out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he runs it. He does the a little bit of Debo and kind of runs here and there. And Kirk's like his I think he's the better player. AJ Green's just very tall, and he is a good player. I mean, he killed it at Cincinnati. And there's still glimpses of that greatness, but we shall see.
They're glimpses. Christian Kirk, maybe he's their wide receiver 1 right now. He's no DeAndre Hopkins, but he is very much a stud for them. So I like him. I like him. Other than
I'd fire him up.
In this whole matchup, other than Jonathan Taylor, Christian Kirk is a guy I'm really fired up about. Let's see, and let's see what Kyler Murray does. I think he's got some good games coming up for him. So let's go over to Falcons at hosting the Lions. I don't know how much there is to see here. We got some COVID going on here. You got Jared Goff. He's on the COVID list. Maybe he misses the game. Maybe he plays. Kind of keep an eye on it. Jamal Williams is now off the COVID list, so it looks like he's going to be sharing carries with Craig Reynolds. It doesn't look like DeAndre Swift is coming back. So if there's no Jared Goff, one of the hot pickups on the waiver wire, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I don't trust him in that. And then on the other side, it's kind of like you got a great match for Cordarrelle Patterson if he's going to get some more touches. Because you got the Lions are number 31 against the running back, and CPAT. It's such a good matchup, but he hasn't been getting touches. He's almost been getting used more as a receiver than a running back / receiver.
He'll run. Yeah, the Lions running defense is was it almost last in the league? So
number 31, 31.
Yeah. So I think Cordarrelle Patterson's going to get his touches, and he's going to do some damage here this game.
Yeah, I mean, the one quandary is what to do with Kyle Pitts, who, he's quietly going to get close to 1,000 yards, if not surpass it, with the 17th game. But, hasn't scored, he's only scored 2 touchdowns on the season. I'm sorry, 1 touchdown on the season. And it's just, eso duele for all the high expectations.
I mean, he can get you some PPR points, but.
Is Swift back? I mean, he's officially back, right? I mean,
he's limited at practice. So we don't know, and he was limited in practice last week, and then they declared him out. So I think it's getting to the point where maybe if he doesn't play this week, I think it may just shut him down for the season, save him for next year. You're not playing for anything. So that's the thing. It's going to be Jamal Williams and Craig Reynolds likely if there's no DeAndre Swift, which is how much we love non-lead Caballo backfields, right?
I like Craig Reynolds. I mean,
he's so good. So we got let's go over to Ravens at Bengals. Both teams are 8-6. The Bengals are 2.5-point favorites. The Ravens, Tyler Huntley did himself a great Lamar Jackson imitation last week. And I mean, he ended up with the QB1, passed for 215 yards, rushed for another 73 yards, got 4 total touchdowns. It's still kind of iffy, iffy if Lamar Jackson is going to play, but I'm really looking at him at firing him up. If I have him, I wish I had him as an option in one of my playoff teams that's alive.
One of my leagues I have where you play the team quarterback, doesn't matter who it is, and I have the Ravens. So after last week, I'm like, I don't care who plays. I'm going to just put the Ravens down and see what happens because I'll be 41 points would be great again if I can get that. So it's very exciting.
I mean, whoever Tyler Huntley obviously is someone's second or third option. Tyler Huntley did not get anyone into the playoffs. So anyone that's in the playoffs, they have someone else besides Tyler Huntley. You know what I mean? So you're not getting into the playoffs, because you're considering playing Tyler Huntley over the actual guy that got you there. So I don't know if anyone's playing Tyler Huntley in the playoffs. It's some of the ancillary games. You're playing for fourth or fifth or whatever. Yeah, you might just have some fun with it and start Tyler Huntley. But I don't think anyone that's actually in playoffs, that's actually like trying to win money, I don't think anyone's starting Tyler Huntley.
Well,
unless they had Lamar Jackson.
Good.
Well, guys, why don't we tell
point. That's a good point.
Why don't we tell the audience who's in the playoffs right now? Anyone? Because they want to know because we're talking about it. So, and everyone was very close and all that. And Hector, are you still in or?
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Number 1 seed.
I'm sorry, you just missed it. I apologize. I'm completely last place in both our family leagues, but I am in the hunt for another league, which is CBS, which has more rules than I've ever seen. I'm discovering more rules as I dig in there. Like, well, what do you mean? You measure this or that or whatever, but that's okay. Learn by doing. That's what I learned at Cal Poly.
There you go.
That's
so
right.
Yeah, to your point, Joe. Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson owners who had Tyler Huntley obviously maybe as a handcuff or scooping him up off the waiver, as a good backup. Then yeah, because like you said, Tyler Huntley does a great Lamar Jackson impression. So he's a good fill in there, and he does a lot of the same things Lamar does. He's
at first he wouldn't go for it. I mean, he would sit there, he would throw it away with 10 yards in front of him. And like, no, dude, you got to go for it. And he learned that.
Right.
Now he's going for it and getting 30 yards. So I like that. I like it a lot.
So on the other side, the the fantasy managers who have Jamar Chase have been a little disillusioned. He hasn't hit 100 yards since week 7, but in that week 7, he went for 201 yards, caught 8 receptions against the Baltimore Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
So, people are like disillusioned, but then it's like, okay, you got this dream matchup. The Ravens are even more banged up in the secondary than they were, in week 7. I wouldn't be surprised if we get 100 yards and a touchdown from Jamar.
Well, is Burrow completely healed? I mean, that's part of it. Is you have these matchups where it's like, well, the last time they played, this guy went off for X number of yards and et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of times there's a big gap in between this time and that time. You lose some O-line people and DBs that weren't there that day come back this day. You know what I'm saying? So there's always you got to take up that with a grain of salt a lot. So, but I'm just also wondering that the biggest thing is that Joe Burrow jacked up his finger, recently, and I'm just wondering if is that going to have any impact? We've obviously seen the impact of Russell Wilson's finger not working out properly. I mean, DK Metcalf's numbers have tanked completely ever since that Russell Wilson jacked up his finger. I mean, it's not even. I mean, anyone who's a football fan watched the game or has seen the highlights on ESPN 100 times where Metcalf had like 4 or 5 steps on the receiver, and Russell Wilson just couldn't hit him. You know, he threw a deep ball, and Metcalf had to stop and come back. And by that time, the DB knocked the ball down, and Metcalf was mad because with Russell Wilson having a healthy hand, that ball sailing over his head, Metcalf's catching it in the end zone for a touchdown and a big chunk yards plus a TD. You know, that was like 13 points or 15 points, whatever it was that would have been, but instead it's a 0. You know, so Metcalf has taken a gigantic hit. You know, so that's my point is, as long as Burrow's finger is 100% good, then Chase has an opportunity to do that again. But again, not everything's exactly the same as it was when he went for 201. So biggest issue being, can Joe Burrow make the same throws?
I mean, we're going to see. I mean, I have a feeling that when it comes to attacking this team, you got Joe Mixon, who's a little bit dinged up with an ankle injury. So keep an eye on that one. If he's out, Samaje Perine is somebody you got to get in you got to, snap. Hopefully you snapped him up and he's back there. But, honestly, the Ravens are so good against the run that you got to attack them through the pass. So that's why I think it's going to be a big game for Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins is another guy you're firing up. So, oh man. Well, let's go back. Let's go to another game with you got a secondary that's been banged up. The Vikings 7-7 hosting the 10-4 Rams. The Rams are 3-point favorites. Nico, you know how much I love the road favorites, the home favorites. The home underdogs, or the road favorites, home underdogs. Dios mío. Well, on the Rams side, no question. You're starting Cooper Kupp. You're starting Matthew Stafford, OBJ, Van Jefferson. I think it'd be hard not to have a lineup with Sony Michel. Obviously, our friend Smokey the Cat isn't going to have him. But I mean, how special is the season that Cooper Kupp is having? With 1,625 yards, 14 touchdowns, 122 receptions on 164 targets. Now, the big thing that's so impressive about what he's doing is we also know the special season that Jonathan Taylor is having. As of right now, Cooper Kupp still has 39 more PPR points than JT. I mean, that just shows what kind of special season we're talking. He's got an outside shot at 2,000 yards, primos.
And after all that, the number one pick for MVP is Aaron Rodgers. So go figure.
Yeah.
NFL's weird, man.
I mean, there's going to be some
the guys break records. Guys break crazy records and do crazy things. And then they're not even like discussed as MVP. It's nuts. NFL is weird.
Just saying. Well, on the other side, we talked about this. We hinted at this earlier when we were answering Smokey the Cat's questions. Dalvin Cook is on the COVID list, likely going to miss the game because he went on late enough in the week. So you're starting.
I mean, I'm celebrating. Madison. Sorry, I'm celebrating because I have Madison. I'm not celebrating because Dalvin Cook has COVID. You're mentioning Dalvin Cook has COVID, and I'm just like, yeah, but no.
Are you doing the Cholo dance? Are you doing the Cholo dance?
I'm happy that Dalvin Cook has COVID. I'm happy that I have Alexander Madison in his place.
Hey, Nico, you want to do the Cholo dance with me? But you're starting Madison. You're starting Justin Jefferson. In Superflex leagues, I think you're starting Kirk Cousins. Now there's talk about Adam Thielen being back. When we talk about the high ankle sprains, a lot of times it's about a month to 6 weeks. Yeah, that's what our friend Dr. Edwin Porras talks about. This will be 3 weeks for Adam Thielen. And he always says, don't start your guy if he's, in that first week back. So familia, if you've got Adam Thielen and you got to fire him up, just do so. Don't have high expectations. Do not have high expectations for him. And that one's tough. That one is tough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go to one of the games of the week. We got the Bills at Patriots. Both teams are 8-6. You got New England 2.5-point favorites at home. 43.5 over under. Now, there's no big weather this week like what we had when the Bill, no crazy winds. At the highest, the winds are projected to be in the teens. So nothing crazy. The temperatures are in the 30s and 40s where weather comes into play. you're looking at this game on the Bills side. It's a must win. So if you got a must win, you're putting the hands in Josh Allen's hands. So I think we could be talking. I mean, even though the Patriots are number one against the wide receivers, I think a lot of that came from that incredibly crazy Monday Night Football game in the wind and wind and cold.
Right.
So that's coming down a lot. So you're starting Allen, you're starting Diggs, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis with COVID, Cole Beasley. Nico, that would have been one of your lines. Nico, call him COVID Cole Beasley.
Calvin Cole Beasley. We give out nicknames in this show. We give out the names.
Yeah, COVID Cole. He's so I really like Gabriel Davis in this matchup. And
how do you like Dawson Knox?
Another one is a guy that I'm looking at. So I think they're gonna attack through the air. But because I don't know if they're going to trust the running game, even though you had Devin Singletary rushing for 86 yards on 22 carries last week. It's tough to trust him coming off of a pretty good game. A lot of people
especially
have talked about
Patriots defense. Patriots defense is no joke. And Singletary's been kind of iffy this year, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't like him against Patriots defense.
I mean, the one thing, the Patriots have given up 100+ yards to Jonathan Taylor, Dontrell Hilliard, Deontay Foreman. So si se puede, you can run. People have been able to run on them of late. I don't know if I could trust Devin Singletary in this anything more than a flex. Maybe an RB2 in a deeper league. On the other side, the Patriots. It's looking like it's not looking good for Damian Harris. In this case, I think the only guy I trust is Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, you have to.
Anybody else? I mean, maybe Mac Jones in a super flex, but I don't know.
Yeah, Ramondre will give you some good points. Bills have been known to give up some good runs, some good games to running backs. So if I were Ramondre for sure.
Yeah, JT took them down a few weeks ago. So he
destroyed them. Yeah, he did.
Destroyed them. Oh,
yeah.
I do. So, all right. Well, let's. Okay, this one's going to be easy. Jaguars at Jets. Jaguars 2-12. Jets 3-11. It's an even 41.5 point over under. Honestly, between the two teams, anyone starting anyone other than James Robinson?
No.
I don't even think you're starting either quarterback in Superflex.
It's like the toilet bowl. This is the big game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we had a sound effect for flushing.
James Robinson, and that's
it. Todo.
Okay.
That's all, folks.
Yeah,
that's all. Well, okay, we'll be able to jump through that game. So let's go to the next one. Giants 4-10 and Eagles 7-7. You got Philadelphia 10-point favorites, a 40.5 over under. The temperatures are going to be in the 40s. There's no rain in the forecast on this weekend, familia, which is kind of crazy because we're in California right now and it's pouring rain right now. So
yeah,
we need more rain in California. So we got the Giants, Saquon. It's a tough one. 100. He has the Eagles have not allowed a 100-yard rusher since week 5. But if you got Saquon, if you invested in Saquon, you're starting them, right? I mean, either are you not thinking about start sitting them?
Yeah,
you gotta have a really deep lineup.
I mean, he actually played pretty well last time. Like he actually tried to run over people for the first time, what I saw. And it's just, thinking back to like when we did draft, I mean, what did he go? Number 4, 5? He's
I think he went at the end of the first round. I think he went.
Really? Because I mean, he's been a regret like for the last 3 years. Like, oh, I should have picked him. I should have picked somebody else. Yeah. So it's just tough. I mean, he's got to bust out soon. I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know, man. So again, going back to what I mentioned earlier, I don't know if Saquon. For those who are in the playoffs, Saquon hasn't been a part of getting you there. So that's so for sure he hasn't. So I don't know, whatever running backs that anyone has used up to this point, to get them to the fantasy playoffs, and it hasn't been Saquon, just continue using those guys. Unless it's like Dalvin Cook or, you know what I mean? Like someone that's out on COVID. Saquon, for me, is a guy that you're using because one of your other guys is out, you know, or on COVID or injured or whatever. But, yeah, you've gotten this far without Saquon.
When I won the Familia League, it was because Saquon was my first pick, but he was hurt on week 2. So he was out. So I had to adjust to that. So I kind of won with him, but without him. So does that tell you something? I don't know.
With him and without him. Sounds like,
like
that's the inspiration of the U2 song.
With or without you. That's right.
I can't win. With or without you. Kadarius Toney, he's off the COVID list, but he still may not be 100% from his oblique injury. So, Familia, you're kind of, even if he's playing, I think be warned. Don't start him. Plus, it's Mike Glennon throwing him passes. So, just say no. Just say no.
Yeah, fire up Eagles defense. Fire up Eagles defense.
Yeah.
For this game.
And speaking of the Eagles, you got Jalen Hurts still limited in practice. So make sure you have a backup plan. I mean, I mentioned Huntley earlier. So
I'd imagine he'll still start. He may not be as mobile, but you know, a pocket Jalen Hurts is still better than anybody else that the Eagles have. So,
I think he's still better than Gardner Minshew. Yes.
Yeah. So you know, make him a pocket passer. You know, keep an eye on his legs. Is it a calf injury or a quad? What is it?
Ankle.
Okay, so just keep an eye on that. Just having him, tape him up, and he should be good to go.
Well, speaking of taping him up, Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard, who both had pretty good games. Miles Sanders, who beat me in the, Primo Jose had him go beat me on Monday Night Football. So gracias for that. They're both nursing injuries. So it looks like the voodoo trick, the voodoo doll that I have with Miles Sanders is working. So.
Thank you. I'm playing Jose this week with Miles Sanders. So seeing him come up injured is helpful to my cause.
You love seeing that. Nico, you were saying something. You're about to say
he
something.
beat you by a mile. Oh.
Hold on, let me get the knife out. With
the twist.
Too soon?
No, it's not too soon. So, but give me some beer and tamales, and I'll be fine.
There you go.
Well, let's go down to Carolina, where the 5-9 Panthers are hosting the 10-4 Buccaneers. The Bucs are 10-point favorites. This is one of my bets, Familia. This is one of my bets. Tampa Bay, Panthers plus 10. Take them. Take the points. Take the home underdogs. 44-point over/under. You got Nico talked about it earlier. Brady is pissed. He wants, he's gonna want to. He's gonna, he broke an iPad.
He's going to run up the score.
Dude, they're going to score twice as many points as they did last week.
Yes, this game. This is going to be one of those games, George, where instead of taking a knee at the end of the game, Brady's going to throw a touchdown. Like that's the kind of stuff that we're going to see here. He's mad. I mean, the guy threw a Surface tablet. No one does that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Brady's out for blood, and when Brady's out for blood, you need to be very, very afraid, be very afraid. And the Panthers should be very afraid. I have DJ Moore. I'm firing up because I have to. Based on what it's either him or Mooney. I don't trust Mooney at all. Justin Fields is hobbled in this game, and I'm not trusting that.
Mooney and Moore, you got something. You got a lot of vacas. You got a moo going on.
Mooney and moo. I know, man. Like, I gotta brand them.
Honestly,
like a rancher.
Earlier today, Nico, I was talking you out of into dropping Chuba Hubbard because he's really not. I just don't know if he's going to help you. He's not against this rush defense. I mean, they're tough. They're still tough against the run. On the Buccaneers side, I mean, you're firing up Brady. You're firing up Gronk. Those are no brainers. Ronald Jones, for the most part, is a no brainer unless you got Smokey the Cat. But yeah, Antonio Brown. I think you're starting him, and I think
Mike Evans dealing with the hamstring. And we were talking about it earlier. He's week to week. That's not a good designation for someone that you wanted that you may be starting, in a couple of days. Usually day to day is what you want to hear if you're, if the guy is, and has a possibility of doing, something, productive during his game. When someone's week to week, on top of that, he was did not practice today and yesterday. So 2 days in a row of not practicing. Mike Evans, it's looking pretty bleak for him. So keep your eyes. If you're a Mike Evans owner, keep your eyes on that every day and do your homework and just make sure that even if they say he's good to go, he may have just being a decoy, someone that spreads everything out to open things up for Gronk and for Antonio Brown in that offense. I don't really see much happening for Mike Evans this week. So
yeah, well, I think the Super Bowl, Gronk, you put him way down. He's maybe going to get one touchdown, if anything. And Brady went to his guy because he wants to win the Super Bowl. He wants it badly. So 2 touchdowns. Was it 105 yards?
Yeah. Antonio Brown got his CD.
He's in that mode. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go Gronk all day because I know that's what's going to be, and I have to have at least 14 points right away. So I see Gronk, 2 touchdowns, 112 yards, and I think it's going to be Gronk all day.
Yeah.
Well, a sneaky play, I think a sneaky sleeper is Tyler Johnson in this one, because with Chris Godwin out for the season, Johnson is likely to jump into his role, kind of play some slot and slot receiver. So I think it's muy posible. Muy posible. Let's go.
A deep one.
Let's go to Texas. The Texans, 3-11, are hosting the Chargers, who are 9.5-point favorites. Another road favorite, 45.5 over under.
Well, they were 11, George. They were 11-point underdogs.
It was. Yeah. Oh, and it came down to 9.5. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So you got. I mean, I think we already talked about this one. Justin Jackson is the play with Austin Eckler. I mean, heck, you even pointed it out. Austin Eckler said it himself. You're playing Keenan Allen. You're playing Mike Williams. You're obviously playing, Justin Herbert. On the Texans side, I think it's just one guy you're keeping an eye on is Brandon Cooks. Is he active from the COVID list? Other than that, I don't know if there's anybody else you're playing on that one. Maybe Davis Mills on a Superflex league, but really, I don't think there's much else.
If Brandon Cooks doesn't play, I mean, you got to take the Chargers minus 9.5 because they have nobody. They have nobody even, forget fantasy. They just don't even have anybody viable to score points.
Yeah.
Geez. Oh my God.
I just. All right. Well, let's get to the later games because we still got a few games to go here before we sign off and get ready for our get our tamales ready for Saturday.
For Mimis.
Yeah. You get the Bears 4-10 at Seattle. I mean, not a fun game. You got the Bears. We talked about him a little bit. Nico, you mentioned a little. Justin Fields, it's, he has flashes of brilliance here and there. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I just don't know if he's going to be a great quarterback. It's a great matchup for him with the Seahawks, who struggled against quarterback, number 20 against them since week 10. But I don't know if I did recommend him as a streaming quarterback for this week. I'm happy I don't have to play him, but I mean, if he, what helps him is the rushing ability, that Konami code. But I would have to drink several shots of tequila before I have the courage to start, putting him in the starting lineup.
I mean, remember they're playing in Seattle with the 12th man over there, and it gets loud and crazy. And I think Fields is going to have a tough time. Not only that, but he does have the questionable tag right now. He did something to his ankle or something, so he's a little bit hobbled. So, like you said, that you talk about the Konami code, but if he's a little bit hobbled on that, I think it's an ankle as well. He's not going to be able to scramble as much, so that's going that will definitely put the kibosh on, the game that he could possibly have had he been healthy.
Yeah, he still scrambles like the defensive lineman only run a 5.9 in the 40, not 4.4. It's like he's still freaking out and getting sacked. It's like, come on, you got to get out of there. Throwing the ball away.
He's young. I mean, what can you say? The guy's a rookie, and he's
figuring it out.
He's figuring it out as he goes along, and he's going to make mistakes. I have the Seahawks defense, and I have the Miami Dolphins defense. Prior to Taysom Hill and the other quarterback going out on COVID, I was kind of in between, who should I start? The Seahawks against, Justin Fields and the Bears, or, Miami Dolphins against the Saints. Now it's pretty clear, the Dolphins against the Saints, but You know,
yeah.
The Seahawks will also be a sneaky pick. Playing at home, they do tend to play a little bit better when they're at home. And Justin Fields, we talked about it. He's still prone to make some kind of bonehead mistakes and errors. Maybe not bonehead, only it's more of just inexperience. But look for him to make a couple of mistakes and the Seahawks to capitalize, and that'll boost your score on playing Seahawks D.
Yeah, I do, and I'm looking at starting Russell Wilson and Rashad Penny on this one because the Bears have been, they've given up some points to the quarterback and the running back. Tyler Lockett's coming off the COVID list, and we're putting out the APB for missing persons report for DK Metcalf. We're kind of like wondering where that guy is.
Yeah, I had to say I heard on a XM radio show someone called him Decoy Metcalf.
Eso duele. Ay, Dios mío.
Ouch. I was like,
if I had his abs, I wouldn't decoy. I wouldn't feel good about being a decoy.
I mean, it's not his fault. Russell Wilson's thumb injury, whatever it was, that's completely derailed Metcalf's season. I was ready to draft DK Metcalf, beginning of the season, and this didn't work out. But I would have loved to have Metcalf on my team, even right now. I mean, he's a beast. He's built just like a truck where, against, playing against Honda Civics on D against him. The guy's a monster. But, unfortunately, Russell Wilson's finger this year is, hampering his production. So, temper your expectations starting Metcalf. His favorite target is Tyler Lockett. I was
about to say Lockett gets passes, so why wouldn't, what's the difference? Metcalf's a bigger target to throw at, but he likes Lockett, so something's going on with him.
It's something going on. I mean, maybe Lockett's getting himself a little bit open, a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's the spacing. I mean, Metcalf usually gets like more jump balls, and Russell Wilson will throw more to him, even if he's covered, because he can leap and do things like that. Where Lockett's he's just wide open. The guy's just so fast. He's just wide open. There's no jump balls. There's no defenders putting their hand out and knocking balls away. When Lockett catches the ball, he's 5 yards away from the closest defender. So that's the difference.
Well, he's got good field perception, like Kupp. He knows he feels it, and he knows where the gap is.
He finds the holes exactly.
Yeah, he's good. All right, we got 3 more games we're going to jump through in probably about 7-8 minutes. We got the Steelers 7-6-1 at Chiefs 10-4. KC 8.5 point favorites, 44.5 point over under. Sneaky play here. He's been kind of quiet of late. Najee Harris. I mean, you're obviously starting Deontay Johnson, even though the Chiefs are number 11 against the wide receivers since week 10. But you got their number 27 against the running back. And Najee, a good all-around player. I think he's kind of overdue to get some yard, have himself a game.
I hope so. I mean, the one thing to consider is that Pittsburgh's O-line is just
Ay, Dios mío, muy malos.
Somebody pointed it out, and it makes sense. I was listening to a radio show last week. I forgot who they played, but Najee Harris, the majority of his carries last week, he was hit behind the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
And that's just, what I mean? And that's a bad sign. Even if the Chiefs are, not so good against the RB, if the Steelers O-line is not better than what they've been, it's not going to matter that the Chiefs are ranked 27th against the RB, because if they're hitting Najee behind the line of scrimmage because Pittsburgh's O-line is just garbage, then it's like they might as well be ranked number 5, because Pittsburgh's O-line is not stopping anyone from coming through and nailing the running back behind the line of scrimmage, and it was all game long, and I was like, dang. That's right. Once he said that, I was just like, dang, that's so true. Like their O-line is just really bad. So I would be careful a little bit there. It may not necessarily be if how the Chiefs are ranked. I think it's more on how bad the Pittsburgh O-line actually is in, giving Najee Harris some running room.
Exactly. Well, let's go over to the Chiefs side.
Yep.
You got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce on the COVID list.
Both of them.
Hopefully they're back. Eso duele. So if either or both of them are out, I think it means more targets for Mecole Hardman. So as some people may want to vomit a little bit, but that's the truth.
Hey, man, they'll make it happen. I mean, Mahomes will find a way. And he's at CEH back there doing his thing. So they can make it work. If Tyreek and Travis Kelce are both not there, or at least if one of them comes back, they're fine. But if both are out,
I think if they're both out, I see the Steelers covering the money line on this one. That's my call right there.
Ooh, interesting.
Because the Steelers like to show up, and they do. So and
they
KC,
showed up.
Do you remember KC being real bad? They're losing every game.
Yeah.
They were like in last place in the league. They're still that same team.
2 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
now they're awesome. They're awesome again.
You take away their two best receivers, I think they go back to that mode. So
that could be.
Yeah.
That's my call. Money line right here. You heard
money line.
Okay.
All right. Two more games to talk about. Broncos, 7 Raiders. Both teams are 7-7. The Raiders are 1-point favorites. On the Broncos side, ojalá the oraciones for Teddy Bridgewater. Suffered that scary concussion.
He's missing,
Him and Donald Parham, but you're starting Javonte Williams, you're starting Melvin Gordon in this one. Jerry Jeudy had a big game with Drew Lock as the quarterback last year in the season finale.
Jeudy.
Yeah, he got himself a 91-yard reception. So something to keep in mind there. On the Raiders side, we talked about Jacobs. Derek Carr threw for 341 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 6 against these same Broncos. So he's not going to have Darren Waller. But he's got Hunter Renfrow in a bigger role. So
fire him up. Fire up Renfrow. That guy's just blowing up this year. He's really good.
Yeah, big time. Primo Nico, you got anything on this one?
Waller's not officially out, is he?
Officially out.
He is. Oh, that must have happened last hour.
What's going on? Yeah, it was pretty ugly. It was during your nap.
Exactly.
All right, we're gonna close up shop. Sunday Night Football. We got the Washington Football Team 6-8 at Dallas 10-4. Dallas is 11-point favorites with a 47-point over under. Now, last year Antonio Gibson got 115 yards on 20 carries and 3 touchdowns on Thanksgiving Day. But this Cowboy defense is so much better, and now Gibson is out with is down turf toe. Yeah, there's no word on if he's actually going to miss the game or multiple games. So, if he's not practicing, I grabbed him for Jarrett Patterson in one of my leagues. This is kind of gross, isn't it?
Not good. Gibson being out, man.
No me gusta.
Because again, that's one of the guys that got you to this point. These guys get you to playoffs and then they go out with injuries and stuff. It's brutal.
No bueno. I wish Ricky, we're raising this one to you. Terry McLaurin has a tough cornerback matchup with Trayvon Diggs, but he does get Taylor Heineke set as his quarterback. I think it's I'm hoping that that this is a kind of a reprise of last year, because I know for me, I need Antonio Gibson, and I'd love to see Terry McLaurin. I'm a little worried about that matchup. Any thoughts on this one, Primos?
Dallas defense is just they're
pretty legit.
They're legit, man. They are super legit, and they're gonna give Heineke fits. So I don't know, and especially like you said, McLaurin's going to be bottled up by Trayvon Diggs, and there's a backup running back to Antonio Gibson. I don't know. Dallas is favored by 11 for a reason. That's a lot. Yeah. That's a big spread. So look for the Cowboys to eat them up. The Cowboy D is going to put up a nice point total there if you're starting them. In your defense. Look for the Cowboys to eat them up. The Cowboys is going to eat them up this game.
Well, let's look at the Cowboys side. You get the one thing that you're going to need. You need points on this board, and Dak Prescott has not been putting him up in the last 3 games, all road games, mind you. He scored 23.42 points. Tyler Huntley, back to him. In his week 15 alone, he had 35.6 points.
Wow. Yeah.
The only thing that makes, and actually this is part of the reason I'm out of the playoffs is because Dak, made a big caca on last weekend. So,
the last couple weekends. He hasn't
last 3
like single digits. He's putting up single digit points.
Yep.
But the Cowboys are 10-4. So the secret sauce for the Cowboys clearly is not about having Dak, put up monster numbers. Their running game has come along strong, with Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. So they're mixing it up a lot more. They're balancing their attack a lot more than most other teams are doing. That's impacting what Dak's doing, but the Cowboys are 10-4. So they rather take that than have Dak put up a bunch of fantasy numbers. They don't really care about that. So unfortunately for Dak owners like yourself, George, that affected you. But they changed the formula. They changed the formula as to how they want to win games. And unfortunately, that means Dak's doing less.
Yeah.
How about them Cowboys, right?
Well, speaking of them, you got the running backs. Ezekiel Elliott had 72 rushing yards on 19 touches. You got Tony Pollard with 87 total yards on 15 touchdowns. Both of them last week.
They're both good, man. I think that's what it is. Is they're leaning on both of these running backs. Both these running backs are solid, man. So
yeah.
So Dak has to do less, and they're still winning. So there it is.
Nico, you got any thoughts?
No, I mean, Washington was kind of a surprise. Cowboys are supposed to do a lot, which is kind of what I'm hearing here. So I wouldn't be surprised. I want to say that I see Washington come in and beating the spread, but I don't. I think Dallas is going to blow them out. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, the Washington with Antonio Gibson out and the only real viable target in McLaurin being bottled up by Superman Trayvon Diggs. There's really not much there for Washington. So
El Superman. The Washington football team, which will now be known next year as the Santas. I'm telling you, that's my 2 cents in there.
Los Santos. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, primos, it's time to go get, wrap some presents and get ready to unwrap some tamales, because that's just all for our show.
For our show.
Well, if you haven't already, please make sure you're following us, liking and subscribing us on YouTube, familia. Please, por favor, that'd be a big help to us. Also, thanks again to Anchor for being our hosting network and putting our independent podcast out there. Apple, Google, Spotify, we're all on there. Just make sure you're checking on there. Please make sure you're checking out our original content, familiaffb.com, and you can follow me at Jorge Martin17, or you could go to Familia FFB at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So, otra vez, abrazos, mi primos. Everybody, be safe. Enjoy your Christmas. Una feliz y sagrada Navidad. And remember, todos somos familia.
Adiós, amigos.
Show.
Salud.
Salud.